Hey everybody, it's Gomladex, and welcome back to the Phyrexia All Will Be One Early Access event. Thank you very much to Wizards of the Coast for providing me with this early access account that we'll be using today, and we are just going to hop into a premiere draft of the brand new format. So without further ado, let's get into it. We don't have an exceptional pick one pack one here, but we do have a fun build around potentially. Venser Corpse Puppet. This can be pretty good value if you can pick up some Proliferate cards. This shows off multiple of the new mechanics, as you can tell by the gigantic scroll bar of abilities at the far right there, but a 2-mana 1/3 lifelink Toxic 1 is not that great, Toxic being the new mechanic where when this creature deals damage to your opponent they get a poison counter. However, when you slap on the ability to just make a 3/3 when you proliferate, this could be pretty scary, and if you manage to proliferate multiple times you can start giving that artifact creature flying and lifelink, so very big signpost for what the blue-black color pair is trying to do in the format, where it is proliferating to add poison counters to your opponent, as well as add oil counters to your own cards, or loyalty counters to your planeswalkers. So we'll go with Venser here. Earlier enough in the format, we're just going to take the big signposts and try to play those archetypes, but I could definitely see later on taking something like the very premium common removal spell of Hex Gold Slash over the Venser. Pack 1, pick 2 now. This rare is another signpost rare, but I think it's a lot weaker. You need to have kind of a lot of equipment for Jorkadeen to pop off well. There are some good equipment in red and white, but I don't think Jorkadeen is going to be as good. It takes a lot more effort to get Jorkadeen going and getting you a lot of value. There's a great uncommon here though, Charforger. We used a few of these in our last deck and it was just pretty exceptional. 1 a black and red for a 2/3 and a 1/1 is just a lot of power and toughness for only 3 mana. Ruins a lot of the aggressive decks' days, ruins their plans of hitting you early game, gets multiple blockers on the board, and it has a good ability for some late game value, putting an oil counter on the Charforger whenever a creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, and you can remove 3 of those counters to exile the top card of our library and be able to play it that turn. So with the Charforger with some Proliferate, you can get some more oil counters on it, make it easier to do that, so a Grixis kind of proliferates pile could work well with Charforger. Pretty decent pickup after the Venser. Next up for pack 3, or pack 1 pick 3, we have Mesmerizing Dose, which is pretty good removal when you're in the Proliferate archetype. There are problems with enchantment-based removal spells where your opponents then get to sacrifice whatever you've enchanted for value, or if they have enchantment removal they can get their creature back. So those are some pretty big flaws with the removal spell, but this card does make up for it by allowing you to proliferate in archetypes that care about it, like blue-black. There's also Tamiyo's Immobilizer, though, which is a pretty interesting card, and I want to see how well this card plays in a Proliferate deck, but I imagine it's pretty good. Basically an Icy Manipulator, 4 mana for a card that can tap down an artifact or creature every turn, however can only do it 4 times by itself, so you do want to have a lot of Proliferate to keep upping those oil counters to keep this going and going. That being said, I want to try out the new, more interesting card, though, there, try out the Immobilizer and see if it works out well. I could see in the future, if Immobilizer ends up being just hard to proliferate on often enough, that just being like Mesmerizing Dose there for an easy proliferate card to go with Venser. Pack 1, pick 4, we have 2 premium removal spells, Planar Disruption in white and Hex Gold Slash in red. We already have a red card with Charforger, so I think I'm going to take the Hex Gold Slash here. Some other decent cards like Vivisurgent's Insight being a kind of slower card draw spell, but it hits that proliferate mechanic, that proliferate theme well for us, which is nice. But I'm going to go for that Hex Gold Slash off of our red. Now we have a bunch of great lands, but they're competing with an excellent card for the Proliferate deck, which is Trawler Drake. This card gets an oil counter on it when it hits the board, and gets an additional oil counter whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and it has +1/+1 for each oil counter on it. So a 3 mana 1/1 flyer, obviously not great, but as soon as you cast a couple spells, it turns into a 3/3 or 4/4 flyer, and if those spells also proliferate, this card gets really massive really quickly. So Trawler Drake's a lot of fun, really good in this archetype. If I want to commit to being full Grixis, I should probably just take the Black Cleave Cliffs, but I'm going to go for the Trawler Drake here. I think it's a premium card for Proliferate decks, and if it weren't in this pack, Cliffs or one of the common lands would be great. These lands are exceptional. You get to play them early game, and then when you start flooding out, sacrifice them to draw a card. So I would take those lands over any replacement level non-land cards. Pack 1, pick 6 now. We have Blight Belly Rat, which looks perfect for the archetype. A 2-mana 2/2 with Toxic 1, so that we can potentially get a poison counter on our opponent. And then when it dies, we get to Proliferate, so it can trigger our Venser, our Trawler Drake, stuff like that. So I like Blight Belly Rat a lot here. Like it a little better to Prologue to Phyrexia, because this doesn't fully proliferate, it just puts a poison counter on your opponent. So we'll go with the Blight Belly Rat here. If this was the Anticipate, the pick a card out of the top 3 and put it into your hand and then Proliferate, I might take it over Blight Belly Rat, because non-creature spells that also proliferate are really good with your cards like Trawler Drake. Speaking of, Trawler Drake number 2, don't mind if I do. Pretty simple pick here. There's also a Testament Bearer though, which is a premium common because its ability to trade off on blocks pretty decently and then draw a card to replace itself, so it's a 2-for-1 right there. Ribskiff, another 2-for-1 value play because of its enter the battlefield, draw a card ability, so these are both really good cards as well. But I'm going to go Trawler Drake and get solidified into our Proliferate deck here. Alright, pack 1, pick 8, we have a Skull Bomb in white. All of the Skull Bombs are quite solid because you can always sacrifice them to draw another card, just cycle them away like that. So they're all just pretty decent to put in the deck. That being said, we're not really looking at white at all here. I'll probably just take Infectious Inquiry. Grimdark's pretty solid, it's like fine, but it is a 6-mana card. You can only have like 1 or 2 in your deck, so I don't like to take them super highly. I'll take the Infectious Inquiry here. Decent little draw spell, 3 mana, draw 2, lose 2 life, and it also puts a poison counter on your opponent, which again is nice when you're proliferating, not because you intend to proliferate 9 times and beat your opponent with poison counters, but because there's a lot of cards in this format that want you to have 3 poison counters on your opponent, and that's actually reasonable to get to. This pack is easily Quicksilver Fisher. This is going to be probably Blue's best common. 5 mana for a 4/3 flyer is a decent evasive threat to try to close out the game, and it's got a very good value enter the battlefield effect, letting you draw a card and discard a card. So I do love Quicksilver Fisher already. Pack's pretty much just bad. We'll just cut an on-color card, or... yeah, I'm not going to play combat tricks in this kind of deck. I'll just take the Mirror Custodian, 3 mana 2/3 scry 2. Could end up in the deck as something very filler. If we get a lot of cards that care about oil counters, Free from Flesh can actually be pretty good. Like if you're in the blue-red spells deck and we have 3 Trawler Drakes by the end, this becomes target creature. Target Trawler Drake gets +2/+2 until end of turn and +2/+2 permanently. So it becomes a +4/+4 combat trick that gives the Drake permanent +2/+2. So for the chance of ending up primarily blue-red, we'll take the Free from Flesh there. And now we take Vivisurgeon's Insight and a pick 13 Autonomous Furnace. This is something I expect to happen relatively often early in the format, but these cards are, again, you should be taking these over anything but like really solid non-land cards, because they're always going to make your deck better no matter what, because you get to run them over mountains, run them over islands or swamps or anything like that. So really happy with that. And another thing we're really happy with, sorry Drivnod, as fun as Yargle is, as cool as you are, well, this card is pretty busted actually. Because late in the game, you're probably, if you draw this late game and you have 3 creatures in your grave, this card's like ridiculous. Like an 8/3 indestructible is super, super big deal, but I've been tremendously impressed with Serum Core Chimera, and we're already heading in that direction. This gives you an oil counter whenever you cast a non-creature spell. You can remove 3 to draw a card, and then you may discard a non-land card. If you do, you get to deal 3 damage to an opposing threat, so Serum Core Chimera, pretty exceptional as well. Drivnod, very good card too, but I'm going to take Serum Core Chimera. It's just more synergistic, and it gives us a really, really good place to go. Blue-red kind of oil counters and spells here. Speaking of cards that are good for blue-red oil, Urabrask's Anointer is a 4 mana 4/2, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals X to any target, where X is the number of permanents you control with oil counters on them. We already have 2 Trawler Drakes, 1 Charforger, and 1 Serum Core Chimera, so we have 4 cards that might be able to get oil on them. I really ideally want to have 6 or more for this to be good, and at like 8+, this card becomes pretty great, being a relatively consistent removal spell on a stick kind of creature. So we'll take the Anointer here. If that weren't in the pack, I would just take Autonomous Furnace, honestly. I think it's an exceptional card. Be happy to scoop up and add into the deck. Well, here's another Urabrask's Anointer, so let's make sure we get a lot of oil counter cards like Ichor Synthesizer. If we can wheel this, we'll be super happy. We're going to start taking those oil counter cards super highly. Okay, speaking of taking oil cards super highly, I think we're enough into the oil counter theme between double Urabrask's Anointer and cards like Free From Flesh that I'm going to take Ichor Synthesizer over Quicksilver Fisher. Definitely not the right thing to do in a vacuum. The Fisher is almost always better, but I think that the Ichor Synthesizer is just going to work exceptionally for our deck. We really want to have as many creatures as possible that care about those oil counters to make these Anointers as busted as possible, so Ichor Synthesizer going to be the pick for me. We now pick Pack 2, Pick 5 do get to take one of those Quicksilver Fishers. This is a premium common, probably Blue's best common, and that is something I would take over Autonomous Furnace, as good as I think those sacrifice lands are. Another Quicksilver Fisher, but I've already got 2 of them. I can't play too many like 5 and 6 mana cards, and Prophetic Prism is going to be super helpful for us to get our black splash in here. We're kind of turning into, it looks like, blue-red splash black, so Prophetic Prism going to be the pickup for me. And I'm already noticing a theme here, which could be an issue. I might end up drafting Grixis every single time I play this format, because these cards just speak to me. Another Free From Flesh is hilarious with Trawler Drake, which is so tempting, but there's also Annihilating Glare, which is exceptional removal when you have cards like Prophetic Prism. We can sack a Prism to this thing, as well as any inconsequential creatures, and just being able to play it for 5 mana to blow up anything. Thrill of Possibility, Gataxian Anatomist, Gleeful Demolition, or Geth. Geth is double black. I don't think I'm trying to splash in Geth. And Geth is also really weird, where it's super bad early game, but late in the game it's a decent draw. I think I'm going to go Thrill or Anatomist here. I'm just going to go Thrill. Instant speed, potential card draw. Wow, Surgical Bay and Autonomous Furnace left in here, and I'm about to be part of the problem because I'm not going to pass up Experimental Augury in a deck with this many cards that care about casting non-creature spells and getting oil counters off of them. Because again, any non-creature spell that also proliferates is just beautiful in this archetype, because it's going to get 2 oil counters onto all those cards that trigger as you cast non-creature spells. Put up a Meldweb Curator here. Not super exciting, pretty filler. Same with Blazing Crescendo. And we've already got an entire deck now. We're just going to be making it better with Pack 3, which is exactly where you want to be. I'm very happy with this so far. I actually have another Curator I put in the sideboard already. Got double Curator if I need that kind of filler. Play Atlas for fixing. I don't think I'm going to double up my Infectious Inquiries. Molten Rebuke. Decent main deck removal. Pretty filler. Yeah. I only want Atlas for fixing. If I end up doing the Black Splash, I'd rather just be on Prism exclusively. Aspirant's not really good without equipment in the deck. Whoa! Best blue common, pick 15? Don't mind if I do. Alright, whatever. I'll take it. I'll put it in the deck. I guess I get to be just straight blue-red then if I'm going to get that high-quality blue cards that late. Probably just take the red card out of this pack, because wow, is that a sign that blue is open. So what, we take Hexgold Slash and then we wheel the oil counter cards? I do want oil counters so badly that it would be just as valuable, maybe even more valuable, to have a deck that has another Synthesizer and a Raptor than a deck that has a Slash and one of those two. Because again, the double Anointer is so good. See how our curve's looking. We already have 3 potential cards that get oil counters on turn 3. We only have the 1 on 2, just the Synthesizer. I'm going to get the second Synthesizer, try to wheel the Raptor. We're going to go for a full synergy draft here and be all in on that poison counter theme, or that oil counter theme, to the point where maybe I even take Free From Flesh here, but these probably wheel at least one of them. There was one in the other pack, and now there's one in this pack, so we can take the Prism in case I do still end up splashing in black. I kind of want to see how good the all-in blue-red oil counter deck is with multiple Free From Fleshes, so I might just go Glisteners here. Another cheap creature that gets oil counters, curves into the Anointer really well. Yeah, in the interest, if I were strictly trying to win, I would be full on the full Grixis splashy deck, taking another Prism here. But we're still in the early access event. I'm interested in trying things that are at least a little bit different. So I don't really want to be just full Grixis again, just twice in a row. So we'll try the all-in, straight-up blue-red oil counter deck. And now we can easily take a Hex Gold Slash, and judging by pick 15 Quicksilver Fisher, we might just have 4 Quicksilver Fishers in this deck if this card wheels. If not, we take Sawblade Scamp, because it can get oil counters. Attack Chain Raptor versus Kuldotha Cackler is actually a little difficult, because that Raptor can hit really hard if you have multiple oil countered up permanents, if you're oiling up the board state. But again, double Anointer, I think I'm just going wide rather than going big. As many different creatures that get oil counters as possible, rather than cards that get really big with them. So now we have Axiom Engraver versus Surgical Bay. Every single creature in the deck having oil. Seems so sick. How many 2-drop creatures do I have right now? 2 Synthesizers? Yeah, 2 Synthesizer, 1 Engraver now. Sorry, Surgical Bay. I'm definitely part of the problem this draft. We are not just taking those sack lands probably as highly as we should be. Well, I guess at this point there's nothing else to take but the Prophetic Prism, just in case. And when we have double Prism, it's going to be really hard to justify. Wow, triple Prism? I guess we're going to play the exact same deck. And yeah, there's no universe in which I'm not splashing in black now. I took other stuff over Prophetic Prisms earlier. I swear I tried to draft a slightly different deck today. But Grixis oil it is. I'll take it. I'm not going to be happy to play any of these. Throw something in the sideboard. Keep that black really splashy this time, though, just like Annihilating Glare and Venser, probably. And Charforger. Yeah, that seems fine. Wow. Free from Flesh versus Ripskiff Bring the Ending. Now that I'm just guaranteed to splash, though, I think I'm going Black Cleave. Fun as Free from Flesh is. I probably wheel one next pick, and I don't think I'm going to one on 3, so we'll get one next pack. There we go. I could also just have 4 Prophetic Prisms. Or a draw Skull Bomb off the Black Splash. Probably actually supposed to be Prophetic Prism number 4. Giving up on my stupid blue-red Free from Flesh dreams. I'm still going to run 1 copy, because it's so good with the Trawler Drakes. But I didn't actually pick up a 3rd or 4th copy of Trawler Drake, where that would have been really consistent. And it's only good on the other oil counter creatures, like it's a fine trick on Charforgers and Raptors. It's just explosive on Trawler Drakes, though. If I had a 3rd or 4th Trawler Drake, I probably would have full committed to just taking all the Free from Fleshes, but I just wheeled a million Prophetic Prisms and got a black-red duel, so let's just have incredible black-red fixing instead. Wow, 4th Fisher or a Shrapnel Slinger? I'll take 4th Fisher. That's just the top end of my curve right there. Sorry for bumping the mic there, my bad. Alright. Same deck is same deck, but it's good. It's some good, very oily stuff today. Alright, so first and foremost, we need to cut 11 cards. Let's check out how much Proliferate we actually ended up with to see if Venser is a splash that's worth it, and Tamiyo's Immobilizer is a card worth main decking. Let's find out here. We did not get very many at all. We have 2 Vivisurgeon's Insights and 1 Experimental Augury, so I don't think I'm actually splashing Venser in, and I'm probably just not playing the Vivisurgeon's Insights at that rate. And then that makes it so the Immobilizer a lot harder to pop off with. Still taps down things if you're getting really aggressive. For 4 turns, it's going to be an Icy Manipulator. The fact that it doesn't last forever is kind of rough. Here's our 3 weakest creatures. I'm in love with the Thriller possibility. How many creatures do I have total right now? 18? That is a lot for a deck that wants to play a lot of non-land cards for Serum Core Chimeras and Trawler Drakes. I want to cut some creatures here. The only creature I want to cut, though, is Quicksilver Fisher. Outside of these, I guess I'll just immediately cut these 3. And then we're at 15. That's not too massively high for this deck. This is probably fine. I might cut 1 Fisher. but they are really great. And then every other creature in our deck, watch this. Literally every other creature in our deck either comes with oil counters, all of these, or cares about oil counters, the Anointer. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 creatures that can get oil counters on themselves. 1 free from flesh to put some oil counters on something. So that's 10 ways to get oil counters on things for our 2 Anointers. Those are going to be so good. Those are going to be so bonkers. And then Quicksilver Fishers are definitely win conditions, just 4 power evasive threats. Doesn't take too many attacks by the time you're dropping those down to end a game, so very good end game there. I don't think we need to run a single swamp, honestly. We probably just run 1 Black Cleave Clips and 4 Prisms. That's how we get Charforger and Annihilating Glare going. Not loving the Combat Tricky. Thrill of Possibility here. Pretty low on removal, so I think I'm going to keep Molten Rebuke in. I was actually mildly unimpressed by Hexgold Slash last time because we ran up against a lot of just red-green beef decks. Red-green decks with a bunch of beefy creatures that this is not killing any of. I'm actually a little unimpressed with it. I think I'm still just running the 2 copies for now. I don't want to cut too many of my non-land cards, again, because 2 Ichor Synthesizer, 2 Trawler Drake, 1 Serum Core Chimera all want us to play a lot of non-lands. Maybe even drop 1 Prism here. I think I'm dropping at least 1 Fisher, going down to 14 creatures, but I could see dropping 2. Excellent card, but I just want to curve out with that. The more quick little oil synergies really pop off there. Yeah, I'm going to cut 2 Fishers, cut the Crescendo and the Thrill. Keep in Quadruple Prism and an Immobilizer and cut a land here. Right, we have 4 Prisms and an Augury that draw us a card on turn 2. We have Scry in the early game as well as discard draw, so we have ways to pick up an extra land when we need it. So we cut 2 Swamps and then add an island or a mountain here. 11 blue, 9 red. 7 red sources, 8 blue sources. All right, 9 blue sources, 7 red sources. Call it a deck. Yeah, I think that's where we're at here. All right, here we are for the deck overview. It's going to be another blue-red spells kind of deck here. The main mechanic, though, in this format for the blue-red spells deck is oil counters. So as we're casting non-creature spells, we're putting oil on our Ichor Synthesizers, and if we get 4 oil counters on it, it becomes a 3/3 that can't be blocked for only that 2 mana. Trawler Drakes here being the big kind of win conditions at 3 mana. They keep getting oil counters as we cast non-creature spells, and eventually deal a ton of damage to our opponent in the sky. But pretty much every creature in our deck, or the vast majority of them, come to play with oil counters that they can use in their own ways to scry 1, discard a card and draw, become bigger, get +1/-1. We can use the oil counters on Charforger to potentially draw cards off the top, and the oil counters on Serum Core Chimera to go ahead and draw cards and potentially discard a card and use our discarded card as a 3 damage removal spell. So a lot of great ways to use those oil counters, and almost all of our creatures come with oil counters, so Urabrask's Anointers at 4 mana become 2-for-1s. They become a 4 mana 4/2 that pretty much always also blows up an opposing threat, even if it is one of their smaller creatures. So Anointers for the great 2-for-1 value. Quicksilver Fishers are some of my favorite blue commons in the format so far. Just a really good deal you can put into any blue deck. 5 mana 4/3 flyer that draws a card, discards a card. Great cards to have at the top end of your curve for some evasive threats that also filter you out of any mana flood. So super great stuff there. For the non-creature spells that we're running to, again, get all those oil counters from casting non-creature spells, we have 4 Prophetic Prism, which we can just cycle away, get an oil counter on some of our stuff, and get some mana fixing for our Black Splash. The black splash, of course, is Charforger and Annihilating Glare for great removal and a very good value oil counter card. We also have Experimental Augury, which is a pretty premium draw spell in these oil counter decks. It is a 2-mana instant that lets us look at the top 3 cards of our library, put one into our hand, and put the rest on bottom. So it's an Anticipate, which is already just a fine filler, limited playable, but it also allows us to proliferate, getting another counter on every permanent and player that we want to put another counter onto. So really good, again, with a board state and a deck full of creatures that just want more oil counters on them. We, of course, have our removal spells, 2 Hexgold Slashes, Annihilating Glare, and Molten Rebuke. And then we have Free from Flesh as a combat trick that can also juice up one of our oil counter creatures. This is a tremendously good combat trick on something like Trawler Drake that gets +1/+1 for each oil counter on it, because this is essentially 1 mana for +2/+2 temporarily and +2/+2 permanently. So it's like +4/+4 this turn and +2/+2 for the rest of the game on a Trawler Drake. So really want to try to pull that off. That'll be really obnoxious. And then the last card, I'm not super sure about this one because we don't have a ton of Proliferate in this deck, but if we're in a decent aggressive position, I think the Immobilizer will still be good. This is a card I just really wanted to try out. The most iffy card in the whole deck. Pretty much everything else in the entire deck I'm confident is a solid card or works well with our synergies. But the Immobilizer here is essentially Icy Manipulator, letting us lock down an artifact or creature every time we tap this and remove an oil counter from it. The problem being that it comes with 4 oil counters, so we only get to do that 4 times, but even doing that just 4 times means we get to do that till like turn 8 or turn 9 if we've proliferated and we're lucky, so we'll see. Only 1 Proliferate card, so I don't think this is going to be great in here. But worst case scenario, technically it is another permanence that comes with oil counters, and the Urabrask's Anointer doesn't just count creatures with oil, it also counts our permanents. So, very solid looking deck here. Very excited to see how it plays, so let's just hop into the gameplay. Alright, here we are in game 1 against Voxy. Very, very entertaining streamer. Highly recommend her streams if you haven't seen them before and you're looking for a great time. I don't know if I can keep this. We don't have a blue source for that, and we're not playing anything till turn 4. Feels like I have to mulligan here, unfortunately. This is much more keepable. We can play Synthesizer on 2, Drake on 3, and then Prism Slash for a double non-creature spell there. So let's drop an island and pass. Forest from Voxy. We'll drop a Synthesizer and pass. If I don't hit the land next turn, I might have to just play Prism to draw towards it. Voxy is on green, black here. Fingers crossed we can hit the land here. That would be beautiful. Maybe I should have just ditched the Hexgold Slash or the Prism to guarantee the turn 3 Drake. Oof. Well, that's not great, but now I can wait on the Prism still, so that I can get an oil counter on Trawler Drake when I play it. Send in the Iker Synthesizer for 1. Still holding up Hexgold Slash if Voxy tries to do something weird. Sheoldred's Edict, fair enough. Goodbye 1/3. Pretty chill with me. Turn 3, a Viral Spawning, a 3/3 with Toxic 1. Let's just go ahead and shoot that immediately, even though I could get another counter on the Drake later. I don't want to start getting poison counters, because as soon as I'm corrupted, this will have flashback. So I want to really make sure that it's hard for Voxy to get 3 poison counters on me, or she's going to get some good value being able to flash this back. So missing a little bit of Trawler Drake value there. Now a 3/4 Toxic. Don't love that, but now I can play Immobilizer thanks to hitting a land, so I can just lock that down for a while. Alright, well, doing well by the deck's name here. We are very oiled up so far. When Voxy moves to combat, we'll tap down the Plague Nurse. Keep her from corrupting us, because that will hit us for Toxic 2 poison counters. Can also give their other creatures Toxic 1. No more removal, please. Ruthless Predation, and now we're in a really bad spot because we don't have any threats on the board. We are playing off the top. We've got Anointer for 1 damage. That is not enough to kill a Plague Nurse. And I can just keep it locked down with a Mobilizer for now, so I think I just cycle 2 Prisms and keep Anointer to potentially kill something else later after I draw some more oil counter permanents. Draw onto an island, see what we get off of Prism number 2. Another Prism. Okay, well, that's a future play. We can, of course, sacrifice our Autonomous Furnace later to draw another card. So we can cycle through that land, looking for more oiled up creatures. Move to combat, tap the Plague Nurse, as you do. And pass the turn from Voxy. Quicksilver Fisher is a pretty great draw here. Big enough to trade into Plague Nurse, and it gives us a good enter the battlefield effect. Don't have anything expendable in hand right now, but if I top deck a land off it, we just discard that. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Another Urabrask's Anointer? I guess I dropped the Prism then. Sheoldred's Edict. Just all removal in Voxy's hand here. It'll be a long game. Please play some 1 toughness stuff for my Anointers to shoot. I would appreciate it greatly. Probably gonna have to stop using a Mobilizer once I get it to 1 oil, because I won't be able to proliferate onto it if it has no counters left. That Emergence, pick up the Quicksilver Fisher, that's so rude. And Voxy proliferates as well, but she doesn't have any counters to put anywhere. Alright, Raptor means we have 2 cards now with oil counters on them. And Raptor can block the Plague Nurse, so I don't need to use a Mobilizer. 1 oil counter away from Anointer being able to kill the Quicksilver Fisher, and Raptor's also big enough to trade into it. Probably getting 1 poison counter here. Plague Nurse can be used at instant speed, I think. Yeah, so Voxy could put an oil on us, but instead Cruel Grimnarch is the play. That's so nasty here. Alright. Well, goodbye, Anointer. That is not an oil counter card. This Anointer still doesn't kill anything, but at least it's big enough to trade into Plague Nurse, I guess. Grimnarch is so big, though. I feel like I'm just going to take a big hit here. Cycle the Furnace. Well, we're desperate for like anything with oil. Probably have to bite the bullet on Anointer, right? I block here and take 9 now. I guess I've got 1 turn after this. Hit one of my 2 drops with oil. I have a 1 mana 0/3 that comes with oil and a 2 mana 1/3 that comes with oil in red. The 0/3 with oil is in blue. Alright, take 9. No poison from Plague Nurse again. I'll take it. Just a land for us. It's probably just sealing the deal then. You hate to see it. I'll go to 2 here. Top deck mode. Tap Grimnarch next turn. Archfiend of the Dross. Okay, well, this is one of the biggest bombs in the whole format, so don't think we had a huge shot here. And the land is very dead. Hits for 6 every turn. 4 mana 6/6 flyer. I could tap one down, but then I still die, so no real point there. That is going to be 0-1 to start it off there. Just needed to hit a few more creatures during that game. If we could have gotten those Anointers to 3 damage, we could have gotten there pretty handedly, but missed out on creatures there. Scooped up triple Prophetic Prism instead. Yeah, close stuff though. Good stuff from Voxy. Heading into game 2 now. Here we are in round 2 against Mr. Metronome, another great streamer. Another primarily limited player. Mr. Metronome is part of the Lords of Limited, I believe. He helps run a podcast about Draft and Sealed if you are interested in that kind of content. Pretty good stuff. Okay, Skull Bomb into Prism is fine. Let's drop a Prism and pass here. Looks like a blue-red oil mirror match. There's that Skull Bomb to put oil counters on something and draw a card. Looks like Metronome's just going to discard it to draw a card immediately. Now a Surgical Bay. We're waiting until turn 5 to play a creature here, so we'll probably just play another Prism over the Augury. See what we hit here. Might go back to the drawing board here and cut a Prism for a creature, because I think that would have been incredibly helpful last game. Have just a few less Prophetic Prisms and just like one more threat, because Voxy had just a removal heavy hand against our creature light deck. Urbrask's Anointer just as a 4-2, just hanging out, says what's up. Got a Serum Core Chimera. Probably just going to get killed if I play it, but I don't really want to mobilize her right now. I might as well. Probably going to get killed whenever I play it. Now or later. Take 4. Down to 16. Resistance Skywarden. Alright, Serum Core Chimera lives another day. Can play Quicksilver Fisher and the next turn play Immobilizer plus Augury, which is enough to get 3 counters on Chimera and kill the Anointer. That's the plan. Obviously can't attack into that big creature. But threaten okay blocks. And I have incredible plays next turn. Mobilizer Augury will just turn the game around if Mr. Metronome can't kill one of my creatures. Alright, Metronome can Volt Charge the Skyfisher, but the important creature is the Chimera, which Metronome does not kill, so we'll go down to 7. Try to take things over from there. Alright, Mirror Convert, we can certainly do it. We can certainly do it. If Metronome doesn't have a decent follow-up to this, we're just already putting the board in an incredibly advantageous position for us. Off of just these 2 spells. Pick up an Urbrask's Anointer, and it's even better now. Next turn I can go Prism Anointer. I'll have 2 permanents with oil counters on them. I guess if I hit a land, I have to discard Prism to kill Anointer. I have to do this at sorcery speed, so we draw right now. We hit a Synthesizer. Rather go Prism Anointer than Synthesizer Anointer, because I think I want 2 permanents with poison. I guess I just need to kill a 2-1. So I only need 1 permanent with poison, so actually I can discard the Prism and play Synthesizer next turn to have another creature instead. Although I think I do just want to make Chimera better, I'm going to discard Synthesizer. Okay. Hold it to block the Mirror Convert. Hopefully Mr. Metronome does not have the +2/+2 trick. 3 cards in hand for Mr. Metronome. A Surgical Bay that he can sacrifice to draw another card. Don't think you make this play if you don't have the trick. I guess you could make this play if you don't have the trick. A lot of the combat tricks kill us if I don't block. Or I guess they don't. They +3/+1. +3/+1 doesn't kill us, just puts us to 2. This is actually an easy bluff. Because Metronome's at 20 and the convert Doesn't really affect the board if it's not attacking anyway. We might just get bluffed here, but I think I'm taking it. I don't think I can afford to lose Chimera if they do have the combat trick. Mycosynth Gardens, that's pretty bad for me, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's horrible for me. Just make a copy of Resistance Skywarden. Got a Free from Flesh, which is really good with Chimera. One mana for that? I can't have 3 permanents with oil counters. I guess it doesn't matter because I only shoot these. I need 4 with oil to kill one of those. But I guess I could double up Anointer plus Chimera for 5 damage, right? Kill the Skywarden here before they can make a copy with Mycosynth Gardens. That might be where it's at. So we go Prism, Free from Flesh, and Anointer. Even just go Free from Flesh into Anointer. Anointer shoots for 2, Chimera shoots for 3. Trawler Drake or Prism? It's better to have. Prism I can play immediately and just cycle it to draw a card. I think I need another creature here, though. I think I have to hold the 2/4 to block the Mirror Convert. Tap this, now they can make it a 4/4 Toxic 2 instead. Alright, cycle the Surgical Bay to draw a card. Play another Surgical Bay. Mobilize the Paladin. No attacks here, so it was probably a bluff from Mr. Metronome earlier. Cycle the Furnace. Got some free damage in earlier. Hex Gold Slash. That can do 4 damage to Paladin. Oh, Mycosynth Garden only copies artifacts. Oh, I'm a doofus. Okay, so they could copy the Convert, but that's it. Okay. We might be fine then. Okay, so we play Trawler Drake and hold up Hex Gold Slash. Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I am a buffoon. I can't just slash the Convert right now because they'll respond by copying it. I think if I kill it in response to them targeting, they don't get the creature off of it. But Slash can also just kill the Paladin, which feels like probably what we're doing here. Oh, I should have tapped down Convert and killed Paladin. Then I guess they make another one. And I still want a 2/4 blocker. This is a hard choice. Like, if Metronome draws a better artifact later, it's kind of just a good thing that this is out of the way just on a 2/1. Because Metronome can never use the ability again after this becomes the 2/1 Convert. But if I kill the Convert now, it just stays a Mycosynth Gardens, and then Metronome can just copy the next big artifact creature. I think I'm actually just going to let that happen. Metronome could still have that potential combat trick from earlier if it does exist. In which case we can't let anything through. Probably trade Anointer into one of the converts. And the Comet Trick would save the Nim Razor Paladin from dying. Oh! So I mill 15 minimum? Well, that's pretty cool. I guess I lose.
Phyrexia.
Just casually mill 15.
Flesh.
Okay, Jace. Well, format is pretty balmy. I'll give a nice to that. We mill 18 and immediately lose now. Did mention during the set review a lot of really, really big bombs and stuff like Jace that are just like, boop, your deck's gone, the game's over. So, bound to happen at some point.
A minor setback. I pull thread.
That's so rough, because I think I was like getting towards stabilizing there, which would have been a really cool comeback, but sometimes there's just a card that's like, oh, surprise, your deck's gone. Game's over. Good stuff from Mr. Metronome, though. Very nice deck, very well played. Put me on the ropes without the Jace. So it is what it is. We're going to be 0-2 heading into Game 3. Alright, here we are in Game 3. Pretty good start to the game. Turn 2 Prism into turn 3 Charforger, which really locks down early aggro, and then we've got that Immobilizer on 4. Immobilizer played very well against Metronome, not super great against Voxy. So still don't know how I feel about it yet. But we'll see. I'm going to play it out with the deck that we started with. Free from Flesh is pretty great on the Charforger. Put it to 2 oil counters, so we just need 1 more to exile the top card of our library and cast it. Phyrexian Arena, that is another one of the bombs in the format. Our opponent is now going to start the game off drawing twice as many cards as us. They draw a card during their draw step, and then an additional card in their upkeep. They do lose a life every turn, but when you draw twice as many cards, you get to deploy twice as many threats and removal spells, all that. And it's pretty easy to get pretty far ahead, even when your life total was getting knocked down by that, so... Might be an 0-3 here, which would be pretty sad. I will be doing my best that I can here, but would be wildly disappointed to 0-3 with this deck. I think this deck is at least as good as our last deck. But, didn't draw enough creatures game 1, and now we've ran into 2 bombs for the next 2 games. Definitely a part of playing limited. Certainly happens. We'll see. Send in the Charforger and Free from Flesh if they block. Just hit for 2 if they don't. Cool. Free from Flesh, get rid of the Glistener Seer here. Charforger is almost ready. Let us draw a card. And we drop our own Glistener Seer. And pass the turn. Geth, Thane of Contracts is a very good card when you have no other creatures on board. It's the only downside being that it makes your other creatures -1/-1. For 3 mana, they can tap it, return a creature from grave to battlefield. When that creature dies, it gets exiled. But if every creature in their deck is like a 0-3 kind of thing, then this is going to be another absolute house in terms of value. And be really hard to get past. I probably should have stopped in my upkeep to be able to scry there, but I drew into a Quicksilver Fisher, so it worked out, and now I can just scry in my end step every turn. We'll put a stop on our upkeep, just in case I want to double scry here. But we don't have any attacks, so we'll pass the turn. We will start sending in our flyer, though. Anoint with Affliction, exile the Charforger, you got it. And pass the turn. Card draw number 3 from Phyrexian Arena. Now Nimrazer Paladin. Return the Glistener Seer to hand and get a 3/3 Toxic 2 on the board. And then they can just play that here. Wide board state on the grounds, but I've got a flying attacker, which is fine. They can hit us with Geth here. Nothing to stop that right now. Go ahead and scry. During the end step, find an Ichor Synthesizer. Not great here. We'll scry that to the bottom. This doesn't block any 3-power creatures well, so I'll just scry again. Not going to be blocking. Trawler Drake. Try to get there with flyers. We take 6 damage next turn. Go to 11. We hit them for 4, put them to 13. Then they take 1 from Marina, go to 12. Guess it's our best bet is to try to race them with flying creatures. Wish we had 1 more mana so that I could play the Drake and the Immobilizer. That would be exceptional. I think I might have to just play Immobilizer here, though. I guess I'm only stopping 3 damage immediately if I do that. Yeah, no, we'll just go Drake. And that is now ready to attack next turn. 4th card draw from Phyrexia, the casual 4-for-1 value. And Techathal Inquiry Dominus. If they proliferate twice. It's also a 4-mana 3/5 flyer, which is already like a B+ A tier card in limited. And they can just remove 3 counters from their Glistener Seer to let this be an indestructible 3/5 flyer. So 4-mana 3/5 indestructible flyer now, and we did not have any chance these last 2 games. That's just guaranteed. Let's see what we get off our Prophetic Prism here. I mean, I can still sort of try to outrace them here. I don't think I will at all. It would be really cool if I did, though, against all these rares. Mobilizer buffs the Trawler Drake again. On board, I can tap down Techathal and hit for 7. Then I take 5 on the Crackback. Because I can trump block one of the 3s. Yeah. If they somehow haven't drawn any removal after drawing like 4 extra cards, we do kill them in 2 turns. In 2 swings. And that is outracing them, but all they need is 1 removal spell to win this game, and they've drawn 4 extra cards and scryed even more. Or scryed just as many. So they've dug like 10 extra cards deep into their deck for potential removal. Now another card deep by sacrificing the Surgical Bay. Our odds of winning here have to be astronomically low. Although Arena does put them down to 4, so if I can keep either of these flyers, and if I get anything to put a counter on Trawler Drake, then they're still dead. Because I can tap down Techathal. Another scry, and then draw from Arena. And draw for turn. 5th card draw from Arena. They do hit a white source, which might be what they were digging for some splashed in removal or something. Gitaxian Raptor's another flyer. Or Gitaxian Raptor is another flyer. If they have no removal, I can still kill them if I hit a non-creature spell for Trawler Drake. But they have 2 extra flyers. Okay, now we definitely don't outrace. Oh wait, no, that just draws them a card because Geth just kills it. So that doesn't actually get to block. Okay. Well, scry to hit a non-creature, non-land card. If they don't have removal when we get there, we win. Engraver doesn't help us. That doesn't do it. Top deck, a mountain. So opponent wins. I can't believe we almost won here. Genuinely can't believe it. But we didn't. Oh wait, maybe we did. Maybe we did. I'm actually wrong. If they don't have removal, they still die to their Phyrexian Arena. Because we don't need to make Drake bigger, because Arena just damages them for 1. Question mark? Let's find out. Super close either way. Please no Anoint with Affliction or whatever. Oh my god, wait, we did? Oh my god, we won. Oh. Oh my god. I did not expect that at all. I was trying to click View Battlefield to show off the graveyard and the spells and everything and think over that game, but... Well, very glad that I played the way that I did, because it did work out in the end. I did say when I went for it, like, our only shot here is maybe we can just outrace them in the sky because they're taking the extra damage from Arena. We're never going to outgrind them with that Arena on board, so play our evasive threats and try to get in there. Cameo is Immobilizer MVP there. Without that, they would have just had an indestructible flying blocker to stop pretty much all of that. But we got to tap that down several combats. Clearly, I'm very, very bad at math, because I was certain we did not have lethal there still, but I kept forgetting that Arena was going to damage them again in the upkeep, so we do get there, even just hitting a land off the top. Our opponent dug a million cards deep and didn't find any removal, so that was really lucky for us overall, but at the same time, I think it balances out, because our opponent did play like 3 or 4 rares, so I think that's like equal, balance it out luck-wise. Yeah, we'll take it. 1 and 2, not an 0 and 3. Definitely happy with that. Here we are now in game number 4 with an incredible hand. We've got perfect mana, so I don't even need to play Prism early, so we can wait till we have both of our oil counter cards on board to do it. And then we're just going to be getting a ton of oil counters on stuff. We've got double Prism as well now. Cycle these through, put oil counters on our board, and go from there. We might actually turn 3 Charforger here if our opponent's a very aggressive green-white deck, which they tend to be. Although now I can just play Engraver turn 2, and I've got a 1/3 blocker at least. Very good draw for us, because it allows us to still play something turn 2 without getting rid of one of our prisms. Viral Spawning for a 3/3 beast. That's very good. Annihilating Glare, another card that's very good. Really good with these prisms. Alright, 3/3 beast. Let's put a 2/3 and a 1/1 on board so we can double block it well. Don't think I'm going to do any discard and draw off of this Engraver yet. A Flensing Raptor from our opponent to send the Toxic Beast into the sky. This card going to be one of White's premium commons for those toxic decks. The card is really nasty. Sending a toxic creature into the sky and giving it +1/+1 and just being a 2/2 flying toxic 1 itself. Quick way to corrupt your opponent for cards like Viral Spawning. This could be very bad for us. Okay, luckily we do have a Serum Core Chimera to blow that up eventually. I think we drop the Chimera here, and this opens us up to some pretty good Prism plus Glare plays. Trying to get the Chimera to 3 oil. We really need to just deal with their current board state. Don't really have any attacks here. Hold off blockers for the creature on the ground. Send in the Raptor and the Beast. This is pretty clearly a combat trick. Can't afford to lose Chimera to it, but I can lose Charforger. Gotta be a big combat trick to kill the Enforger and the Charforger and the Engraver, but literally any combat trick will kill it in the Goblin. Although the Goblin's not that valuable, we probably do this. If it's that +X/+X hexproof indestructible trample, it's gonna be disastrous because we'll get 3 poison counters here, no matter how we were gonna block. Oh, it's the +2/+2 and draw a card because it had Toxic. Yeah, that's also very, very good for a Toxic deck. A 2-for-1 combat trick. Alright, pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. But now they're tapped out, so we know if I hit a land, I can double Prism and Glare, and also Chimera. Do hit a land. So I could go Prism, Prism, Glare Prism away to kill a Raptor, Chimera to kill a Dancer or a Beast. Put them down to just a Dune Mover and a Dancer. Do I have time to play Trawler Drake first to get a bunch of oil? I kind of feel like I do. Because things are going to be so explosive next turn. I think I have time to do this. Oh wow. Murbrask's Anointer on the top makes me pretty happy I did that. Probably should have just hit for 2 with Chimera, because I think if they attack with Raptor, I'm still just not going to block it. In case they have another combat trick like Complete Devotion. Five mana from our opponent. It's a fight spell to kill the Drake with the Raptor. +1/+2, shoot Drake. Or they're just counting up their combat tricks. I might have to actually put Drake onto Raptor here. When I go to 8 and 4 poison, it's not disastrous. Sinew Dancer is only 1 mana from that point on. But then I have Glare plus Chimera to kill most of their... You know what? I'm just going to no block. I can kill most of their board next turn if I just don't put any of my creatures at risk. And then I still have an Anointer backup if I go for Prism Glare first. Alright, we are corrupted, so they can Vile spawning us. Can really safely stop them from doing that. Okay, oh my god, Experimental Augury. I can Prism and Glare and Augury. I could instead Anointer and Glare as well. Anointer the 2/2 flyer, Glare a 3/3 on the ground, and then I have lots of dorks. If I Augury, Glare, Prism, it's 4 counters onto each of these. That makes Drake a 6/6. Try to outrace here. We're at 8 life. If they don't have like +X/+X, we can probably do it, although Sinew Dancer's doing some gross things. Probably have to kill that. Sinew Dancer's doing actually nasty things either way. I think I'm going to Anointer the Raptor and Glare a Beast here, and I just hold off on blocks. Anointering the Raptor to play around instant speed removal. So if I try to kill a Beast with it and then they instant speed removal, they can save the Beast. Alright. They tap one of our juicy cards this turn. Tap the other one next turn. Stop us from blocking well. Not going to go for any attacks, because then they're just going to tap almost all of our creatures. If I attack with Trawler Drake here, then they get to... My Trawler Drake is tapped, and then they tap the Chimera, and then they tap the Anointer, and I have, like, no blocks. They probably tap down Anointer here, so if I want to kill the Beast, I have to block with Trawler Drake, which is not a great block for me, so I might even just trump block with Engraver. The alternative is going to 5 life, 5 poison. Playing on the edge, I mean, that's what the format is about. It's about being scared. It's like the horror movie format. In a different way than Innistrad. But still. It's the spooky format. We should be scared, right? Living life on the edge. Unnatural Restoration to pick up the Raptor and proliferate a poison counter onto us and give the beast flying to hit us for 4. And we can't do anything but chump here. That is really good here. Lancing Raptor is just stupid. That's incredible. That card for toxic aggro. I think I did give it a C+ since that it was White's best common. But it definitely is. Oh, Hex Gold Slash. Augury for 2 counters onto Chimera makes it have 4. Prism and Slash makes it have 6 total. So I can use Chimera twice as potentially 2 removal spells if I draw non-lands. Okay. I think I'm going to use Chimera to try to kill the Raptor. Let's go Augury first and see what we hit off of that. Synthesizer, Rebuke, or Fisher. I think I like Rebuke here. Just trying to control our opponent's board, mainly. Proliferate on everybody. Chimera to kill Raptor. Draw a card, see what we hit. They're going to tap Trawler Drake immediately. Sure. Pick up another Prophetic Prism. I think I'm going to discard the Prism here. To shoot the Raptor. We have Hex Gold Slash to shoot the Beast. And then we play Prism and shoot the Dancer, drawing a card, discarding a card. We'll go Prism here. Draw an island. I'm going to discard the island to draw a card, so I could have a different non-land to discard. Attack Chain Raptor, okay. So worst case scenario, I now have a different card to discard. We're just storming off this turn. Now I draw a discard. I do hit Free from Flesh. That's so good on Trawler Drake that I'm so tempted to not discard it, but I think I just need like creatures and removal here to play it safe. So we'll discard that one, kill the Sinew Dancer, keep 2 blockers up for this Dune Mover because I'm at 4 life, pass the turn, but now we kill them in like 3 attacks with Trawler Drake, and that is our game plan. Huge turn for us. Just wipe out the majority of our opponent's board there. Indoctrination Attendant. They can pick up a card to make a might, and they will. Go wide here while we're at 4 life. Pretty threatening. Can rebuke the 3/4 with Toxic 1 as the play. And that is likely the play. Counter on these 2. Maze's Mantle. Of course, for exactly big enough, and Hexproof? Wow, Maze's Mantle is really nasty in Toxic decks. Guess I have to hold an 8/8 up to block then, for now. Not super into it. I guess I killed him in 2 attacks. I could get bold here. Attack both, block, attack both. They kill us with a combat trick. They don't kill us with a removal spell, right? They kill Anointer and I still chump block, take 3, and I'm alive. I probably have to try to just kill them in 2 attacks. No, because I still have a Raptor left. No. I think I'm good to sit here for a little bit. Discard a card, draw a card off Mountain with Engraver. Alright. Use our Engraver, discard the Mountain, draw a card. Find a Glisten or Seer and an Immobilizer, and now we're getting in. Playing an Immobilizer and a Seer for multiple blockers. and killing them in 2 turns. That's our plan. I should have played Immobilizer first. That would have hit for 1 more damage. That was a little loose. Pass turn. Move to combat, tap the 5/6. And they scoop them up, dead on board to the Flyers. A huge recovery from our Grixis spells deck, basically our blue-red spells deck. Really good stuff from the green-white aggro deck there. A lot of longevity too. They got to flashback their toxic creature. They got to return their flyer and proliferate. Took just a lot of damage early game under a ton of pressure, but we still get to hit that huge late game recovery, and it feels good every time, and that is what our deck is super, super good at, which is what is pretty brutal about every loss we have. It always feels like, but our deck can recover. We just got so close, but not there. But this time, we do get there, the full recovery into a victory. 2-2, heading into round 5. Next round of Magic, we're going to be playing against James from Loading Ready Run. If you've never heard of Loading Ready Run, that would be surprising. They're one of the biggest creators in the Magic sphere. They have an excellent YouTube channel. They used to have a series called Friday Nights that were these very fun comedy sketches about Friday Night Magic in general, that kind of stuff. So very fun comedy troupe. And they've got a Twitch channel as well where they do stream a lot of Magic if you're interested in that. So cool stuff. I feel like this might be one of those always bolt the bird turns here. Just bolting their mana dork while they're stuck on mono black. But that's 1 less counter on the Trawler Drake, but I still have Trawler Drake plus Free from Flesh later. But yeah, I'm just going to shoot the mana dork so they can't play a 4 mana card next turn, and if James was relying on that to play a 3 mana card or hit their second color of mana, then we would be super, super happy. Alright, looks like probably wasn't relying on it. Play the tap land now so that I can play Fisher next turn off of Prophetic Prism. The only issue with this is if James has damage-based removal, we could have saved the Trawler Drake with Free from Flesh, but we can't now. But James is in black, so there are plenty of black spells that we couldn't save it from. We could have Free from Flesh to save from Volt Charge, so now it's rough there. But we still have a Quicksilver Fisher coming up here. We can still Free from Flesh the Synthesizer and hit for 1,000,000 later. So pretty happy. Send in the Synthesizer for now. Draw a card, discard this mountain most likely. Yep, hit a Serum Core Chimera, which I'm definitely keeping. And now Volt Charge on the Fisher. Mono removal of the deck. Classic limited stuff. Phyrexian Obliterator. We played against a lot of bombs today. That's just kind of the format. I mean, I can try to outrace this in the sky, but that's about it. I cannot afford to shoot this with anything or block it ever. So we need to outrace it, so do what we can to do that. I might even just Free from Flesh on the Synthesizer so I can start hitting them unblockable. So these are both flying, and I am going to do that. Make these both unblockable and just go for the race here. Play this land because I'm going to discard my Furnace next turn, sacrifice my Furnace next turn. So I will probably need more mana. Annihilating Glare? Well, that's a good draw. Try to just kill that. Alright, an incredible draw for us, and we're just going to keep hitting for 5, unblockably. Soul Fiend, Mayhem Dominus, that's an indestructible 5/4 on the ground, but James can't block our stuff. Hit James down to 3 life here. Draw a card from Autonomous Furnace. Prophetic Prism versus Synthesizer. Prism lets me draw a card off Chimera, but I'd rather get another creature down here. We can Prism later. Yeah, this James can discard 2 cards to give this indestructible, and all of his burn spells double damage now. But still down on board to my unblockable synthesizer, fingers crossed. That'll get there. Barbed batter fist, some extra damage. Move that over to the soul theme here. Nope, just send in for 5, no blocks. Down to 10. Alright, threatening lethal on board. I am going to prism in case James has instant speed removal. So we can still find lethal by killing this rebel. Should discard Raptor over Drake. Alright, so now we lethal James. Even if James kills Synthesizer, he'll take 3, sorry. So this is just playing around burn spell to kill Synthesizer, where we would only do 2 damage and James would live another turn, potentially kill us on the crackback. It's just mountain. Alright. Fair enough. We are now 3-2. That is 3 wins in a row, a good recovery from the 0-2 start. And we are actually getting to do our pretty spicy plays and show off what this deck and what this archetype can do. So very into it. 3-2 now, heading into round 6. Here we are in round 6 with my mono blue deck. Maybe I'm supposed to mulligan. But I have 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop in hand, and it's a great curve, so I'm going to keep here. And it's a curve that works really well whenever I hit the red source for Anointer. I do only have 1 black source in the whole deck, and it's also a red source, so it's not like it's possible for me to hit like the really wrong lands here. And I even hit a Prophetic Prism if I need to do that to get to these Anointers. And I have double Anointer now, which is hilarious. D4 is on green-white here. We'll see what they've got. Green, white, black. Some very toxic colors, some poisonous colors for sure. Infectious colors, you might even say. Contagious Vorak is the first play, a 3/3 that lets them grab a land from the top 4 and put it into hand. Very great 2-for-1 card, but D4 missed. So just going to be a 3-mana 3/3. Still pretty good stat line. We're going to drop our Trawler Drake now. I could see an argument for Prism because we have so many good 4-drops that the Prism can help guarantee by letting us draw another card, try to hit a land there. But I'm going to get a little greedy here and try to keep all our non-creatures for until we have at least the Trawler Drake on the board. Hiker Spit Basilisk, 1/3 Death Touch, and Toxic 1. So now I can play an Anointer and shoot something for 1, or I can play a Chimera or an Immobilizer. I think I want to play Chimera before I play more non-creature stuff. Hit for 1, I'm not going to block with Drake. And pass the turn. So our opponent doesn't really have a reason not to attack with Vorak, so I think if they send it in, I am going to block with my 2/4, even though it might be a combat trick. Okay, never mind. They just straight up removal spell the 2/4, then that's obviously not an option. And there's Flensing Raptor. Ridiculous card. We'll take 5. Okay. Need to Immobilizer or Prism here in order to have 2 permanents with counters for Anointers. I think I just go Immobilizer. Now I have 3 total permanents with oil counters on them for the Anointers. I'll play the land here because if I hit another land next turn, it will let me play Anointer and Prism in the same turn. I think my deck is so decent, so good at stabilizing that I'm probably not blocking Raptor with Drake here. But I can threaten to. I can pretend I have a good 1-mana blue combat trick and just tap the Vorak instead. It does stop more damage because I'm also not blocking Vorak well. Just stop more damage that way. Alright. D4 does not take the bait, just a full-on attack here. We'll just have to take it. Down to 9 and 3 poison. We are now corrupted. but we have 4 cards with oil counters on them. So unless they kill 2 of my cards when I play this Anointer, we get to kill the Raptor when this hits the board. Probably play it extra safe and just play the Glistener Seer as well. Have 4 oiled up creatures. Shoot the Raptor, have a 4/2 blocker for one of the attackers. Send in with these. Probably tap down the Death Toucher, trade into the 3/3. Is the play. And then we play another Anointer next turn to kill one of their creatures. But I'd rather get the higher power creature off the board first, so I want to try to get the trade into the Vorak. Because I'm dying to just life total damage faster than I'm dying to poison. That tends to be how it is overall. Die to combat damage before you die to poison. Infectious Bite, that's pretty good. Kill our decent flyer here. We do draw another Trawler Drake, and I've gotten a Mobilizer, so I don't need to anoint that away immediately. So play the Drake and a Prism instead. Keep this in hand if I hit my Quicksilver thing. Always going to scry with Seer in the upkeep so that I always have that potential chump blocker. Play it real safe. Send in the Basilisk. I forgot to immobilize it. We'll just take it here. Put one too many times. Good old digital magic. We're already corrupted, so 1 extra damage, 1 extra poison counter, not that meaningful. Another removal spell. Alright, kill the Trawler Drake. Scry with the Seer. Pick up an Annihilating Glare. Sure. Have that in the future. We'll just anoint the Basilisk for now and then have a Glare as a backup. Alright, if Defor doesn't have an instant speed removal spell here, Anointer should be enough to kill Basilisk. If they do, we can sack the Prism to kill it. Alright, and they don't. Predation Steward. Not that scary by itself. Just let it hang out. Molten Rebuke. If I hit multiple removal spells, I guess I might as well kill it, because that'll get the counters on the Synthesizer to be able to get that extra power here. Just need 1 more oil. Juicing up a Synthesizer. Skull Bomb, probably getting cycled to draw a card, dig for some creatures. Mandible Justiciar here, it is a lifelinker. Give them some more time. Scry again with Seer. I only have 1 Proliferate card in the deck. I did hit my 1 Proliferate card. I think decks that have a lot of Proliferate probably shouldn't use the last oil counter, but when you only have 1 in the whole deck, I think it's correct to go ahead and just do that. Let's dig. Hit for 7 on board, hit a Charforger. It's pretty solid. We tap this on attacks. Hold up 3 blockers. Pass turn. And there's the concession from Defor. We are now 4-2. Another 4-win recovery from the 0-2 start. Swingy format. We've had some swingy drafts for sure, where we just start out, or some swingy events, I should say, sealed as well. Start out behind, but then quickly, bam, 4 wins in a row. All right, 4 and 3, always where I'm happy to be, slightly above average, right above mediocre. We'll take it, but we'll see if we can go any farther here. Maybe get 5 wins in a row, turn an 0-2 start into a 5 or more win finish. That would be incredible. Okay, here we are on the play. Furnace turn 1, Island turn 2, Cliffs turn 3. All of our mana's perfect. We just need a 4th land of any kind. Yeah, that's a keep. Opponent takes a mulligan here. And considering another one potentially. Alright, they are going to keep this hand. We'll drop the Autonomous Furnace onto the board and pass. Playing against a green deck, no play turn 1. We've got a Prophetic Prism to play later. Ideally, after we have all of our cards that care about playing non-creature spells. Play the Synthesizer before the Engraver. Because I'm not going to be discarding any cards to draw a card anytime soon. But I may be playing non-creature spells soon. Yep, we've got all 4 lands that we need to get to Chimera, so I guess I am saving Prism for after that, so we'll play Engraver this turn. Attack with a 1-3 and still have a 1-3 to block that Surgeon if they don't play a non-creature spell to give it flying. Alright, there is Engraver. Glistener Seer and Predation Steward, a couple oil-countered cards. They are in blue-green, which is one of the Proliferate kind of archetypes. So they can definitely up those oil counters on those, and the Surgeon can get oil as well, so buff that up as well. So be some explosive stuff coming up, and we no longer have good attacks. We'll just run our 1-3s into 2-2s and 0-3s and get no damage, and so we might as well hold them up as blockers. Fingers crossed, no removal for our Chimera. It's one of the best cards in our deck, so if it can stay on the board, we usually have a pretty great time. Opponent is splashing in red as well. Probably for some very good oil counter stuff to go with all the potential Proliferate. And there's Incubation Sac. Really nice card over the course of a long game. It's going to get them 3 3/3s minimum. Just 4 mana tap and make a 3/3 for the next few turns. Yeah, that's going to be really good here. Because we're not threatening their life total very quickly at all. So they can just sit here making tokens. Ooh, Free from Flesh. Always been excited to see that. I'm probably going to go Immobilizer and hold up Free from Flesh. That seems like the play. If I free my Synthesizer from Flesh, it's already at 4 counters and can start getting in unblockably, and we can really try to race. We're hitting for 5 a turn. 7 on my first attack. But if I free from Flesh Synthesizer, then Chimera doesn't have enough counters to do anything yet. I think I kind of have to race, though. When they play a card like Incubation Sac, and we know where they're just going to get 3/3s all over, I think the game just kind of turns into a race, where we try to outpace the value they'll get off of their slower cards like that. So hit for 7 here, put them to 12, and then we're threatening 5 damage every turn, so they're on a 3-turn clock after this. Scry with Glistener Seer. I can only use Stewards as a sorcery, so I do get to tap one of them down when they go to combat. Could tap the sack and force them to just use it immediately. Well, they can only do it as a sorcery, so if I tap the sack, they can't make a 3/3, but I'm not that worried about that. I think I need to just stop damage and focus on the race. So stop a 2/2 from getting in. Alright, no attacks for them. Urabrask's Anointer. That is real good with 5 oiled up cards. Goodbye, Serum Core Chimera, I'm guessing. Yep, that's rough. Still kill them in 4 attacks with just Synthesizer, so we can still try to outrace them. Prism's no longer that valuable when we don't have a card that cares about non-creatures, so I might even filter it away. So all my mana's untapped next turn, but I guess I can still just play it and draw a card. I just won't have 5 mana up after I do that. Yeah, I think it's fine to just play it. Okay, Island is the draw. We'll play the Prism. If I don't hit anything, we'll cycle the Furnace. Another prism. I guess I play that instead of cycling the furnace. Draw a card. It's another island. We'll discard that to the engraver, but we'll wait till blocks to do so. Hit for 3, 3 more attacks to kill them. We do need to hit something to try to outrace our opponent, but we do have draw discard to help get there. And immobilizer being very helpful. Really just need them to not be able to blow up synthesizer, and then we've got a good shot this game. If we can keep our synthesizer on board. Send the surgeon into the sky. Move to combat, we tap down the anointer, because that attacks into our 1/3 very well. They can attack with the 2/2s and the 2/1 in the sky. We block one of the 2/2s and take 4. Draw a card, discard a card, and don't lose a creature. Winning the race right now. Just gotta keep it up. Just barely winning the race right now. If I hit exclusively lands, I guess I don't actually win the race, right? Because I hit for 3 with the sack. They're going to hit me now for 7 this turn. Then I hit for 3, they're down to 3 life. Then they hit for 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I just barely lose the race if I hit exclusively lands here. So come on, Autonomous Furnace, hit anything playable. Trawler Drake is anything playable, good enough. And now we're back to winning the race with 1 more blocker. Three attacks from Synthesizer. Or if I top deck like a god, I guess I can kill them with Trawler Drake next turn. If I can get 2 counters onto it in 1 turn. It's possible. I have several cards that'll do it off of just 1 card. Not several. I have the card I already used, Free from Flesh, and then I have the Proliferate draw spell that'll do it. I forgot to tap a creature. No, that's... I hate Arena so much sometimes. Like, it's impossible in an in-person game of Magic to not know when your opponent says, I'm going to move to combat now. But in digital Magic, because you have to click through so many things, it's so easy to just click at the wrong time. God dang it, that might just lose us the game. That would be so tilting. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we just lose the race now. I would have tapped Anointer otherwise, and then they only hit us for 5. I guess I could chump here, take 5, go to 11. Next turn we tap 1 thing down, hit them for 3. Tap 1 thing down, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Block 1, 5, 6, 7. I guess I might not lose the race. Wildly close though. But I can chump with Trawler Drake next turn as well, and this gives me an opportunity to just kill them with the Drake, so we save the chump block for next turn. If we're gonna end up chump blocking. So you use the sack again. Yeah, and on board I'll have 2 blockers. So I go block, block, and I tap 1. So block there, tap that, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm still just barely winning the race if my opponent's out of cards. But we could have been in a better position. And now Trawler Drake gives us another blocker, makes us a little safer. Okay. I guess it has to just be play Trawler Drake and pass. They've got 1 attack to kill me or my Synthesizer. Okay, I need to keep my cursor away from this. Just trying to keep the pace up, keep the game going. We need to slow down. We're playing digital Magic here. We need to make sure we click on the right things at the right times. Hiker Plate Golem. Buffing up both of the stewards is big. Don't think it's lethal though. 3 blockers. Yeah, if they don't have removal, we're just going for a triple chump. This is going to be a premium card. There are so many good oil counter things in so many different colors. It's going to be a very high pick. Send in the squad. Kill the 2-1 and take 6. That is the maximum we can stop. I guess I can stop more damage by doing that, and then I take 5. Down to 2. Do they kill Synthesizer? Contagious Vorak doesn't kill it. And just a nice little 3-3 unblockable. It's going to wrap the game up for us. Incredibly close game. We could have made it a little less close if I didn't forget about... well, if I didn't accidentally skip through my chance to immobilizer. But I was just trying to keep it interesting. It was a purposeful misplay, purposeful misclick kind of punt there to keep the game interesting and spicy and scary. And we're going to be 5-2 now. 0-2 into 5-2. That's 5 wins in a row. We are surviving on the edge of the blade here. And hopefully we're just going to keep on thriving heading into game number 8. Game number 8, we are against a Wizards of the Coast employee. They've got the mythic orange names. That's very cool. Unfortunately, the bonus accounts are just called human token whatever number, so we'll have no idea who this Wizards of the Coast employee is and what they do. But if they're out there, appreciate everything you do for the game, whatever it is that you do for the game, because this is the best game of all time. Veil of Assimilation with no creatures on board, so it doesn't do anything yet. I am going to just drop this Prism here. I feel like it's a little greedy when my hand is all 4 and 5 mana to not play this trying to hit my land drop. And there we go. Now I can play the Serum Core Chimera next turn. There's a Gold Warden's Helm for a nice 2-3 on the board. Another Prophetic Prism, so I've got another card to work with the Chimera, which is cool. Pass turn. So this is whenever they play an artifact, a creature they control gets +1/+1 Vigilance till end of turn. So they can buff this up, make it a 3-4 Vigilance. If they play 2 artifacts, that'll be pretty bad for me. Alright, there's 1 artifact. It's a 3-4 Vigilance, and there's artifact number 2. 4-power Vigilant creature it is, and we're just going to take a hit. No blocks. Veil of Assimilation, actually putting in some work this game. Probably playing a Mobilizer. Send in the Serum Core Chimera. I guess I could play Prism and Seer and Glare. It's an option as well. We're not going to get corrupted anytime soon. There's no poison going on over there. I think I'm pretty chill to just play a Mobilizer for now. We tap down the lifelinker. I actually think I'm just going to hold off and have a good blocker because they can just set whatever one of their creatures up to be a good blocker or a good attacker. Like they can line things up pretty well to have multiple good attackers if I don't have a 2-4 blocker up. Ew, Evolved Spinoderm, 4 mana 5/5 hexproof, removes an oil counter each turn. Eventually it becomes just a 5/5 trample, just a 5/5 trample. But then eventually it dies if they lose all the oil counters. Okay, so we are moving to combat here, so I need to tap something down if I want to, but I can already block everything, so I don't need to. We will save our oil. You know, 1 mana combat trick me? 1 white is like a +1/+1 thing? Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think so. I don't think so. We can Charforger off of our Prism. But I can't Charforger and Glare. I could Charforger and Glisten or Seer. Gives us a good chump blocker for the hexproofing thing. It seems reasonable. Even though I could just get more non-creature stuff cast right now. I don't think I want to do that till I'm glaring. Yeah, let's just line up a bunch of good chumps for Spiny Derm. And I don't have any attacks into the 1/3 flyer, so we just pass. Keeping my 0/3 up to block with. We're going to be using this during their end step, not during our upkeep. Still put a stop in case something weird happens, so we do have that option, but I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go straight to my draw step rather than scrying in my upkeep. Iker Spit Basilisk. 1/3 Death Touch Toxic 1, and a black source from our opponent. Nothing I want to tap down here, nothing too big. I mean, I do want to tap down the Hexproofer, but obviously I can't do that. Alright, get a chump block, get an oil counter on the Charforger. Tons of oiled up stuff if we hit any of our 4/2s. Those are going to be incredible. Speaking of cards that are pretty incredible draws, Trawler Drake here. Before we play too many more non-creature cards. It's fine by me. Yet again, just going to sit here on our butts. Maybe take a hit for 5 from the Spinoderm, maybe chump with the Glistener Seer. But then we kill it next turn with Annihilating Glare. Oh yeah, it has Trample now, so I'm only stopping 3 damage by blocking with Seer. Instead of stopping all 5. We'd probably just take it at this point. Kill it with Glare. Phyrexian Atlas. Okay. Another mana rock for some mana fixing. Oh, but it does work with the Veil. Make the Spinoderm a bigger Trampler with Vigilance this turn, maybe? Or just give something else Vigilance attack. Alright, give the Incisor Glider Vigilance. Oh yeah, I can just immobilize the Spinoderm. What on earth am I on? Just immobilize the Spinoderm anyway. Flensing Raptor, they give the Basilisk Flying here. Yeah, flying death touching attacker is pretty rude. But it only does 2 damage, where the Spinoderm does 5. So I think we're still immobilizing the Spinoderm. We'll get 1 poison counter on us from this Basilisk. Okay, well I do get to stop the 2 damage. They are tapped out. They can't kill Chimera here. They've got no cards left in hand. Unless I missed something on board. It is possible. It does happen. Okay, we've got 1 poison counter. Whenever we get corrupted, this does start just tapping to damage us. Let's scry with Glistener Seer, find a removal spell. Too expensive to play right now, but I can just play Prism Glare this turn and play this later. I'm fine with it. Draw for turn. Main phase. We're gonna go Prism and Glare. I guess Spinoderm is just gonna die after a couple more counters if they can't proliferate. So maybe we're actually not even glaring the Spinoderm. And now that I've drawn a Hexgold Slash, I can Hexgold Slash the 1/3 Death Toucher and kill the Raptor with Chimera's ability here, which is just incredible. Buffing the Trawler Drake quite a bit. Oh yeah, we're just saving Glare for now and tapping down Spinoderm until it dies. Draw a card, discard our weakest card to kill the Raptor. Can't discard the Mountain to do it. I think Molten Rebuke's the worst of them. Just discarding it to basically cast it right now, essentially. So that's a pretty great deal. Play the 5th land so we can Quicksilver Fisher next turn. And I guess we start hitting with the Trawler Drake and the Synthesizer. And now the game is turning around and we're putting pressure on our opponent to find some outs to our board state pretty quickly. They are down to 13, and I will pass the turn here. Spinoderm getting weaker. They're moving to combat. So we tap the Spinoderm down. Blockers for everybody else. They pass the turn, we'll scry with Seer. Scry Scry with Glistener Seer and see what's coming up. An island, no thanks. Move to our turn. I'm going to hold Seer as a blocker still. Prophetic Prism. I'd rather just play the Fisher here. Tamiyo's Immobilizer has been incredible. We had one game where it was bad, but every other game, it was just the business. Even in one of our losses, it was doing good work until we died. Another synthesizer. Sorry, Prism, I guess? Yeah, sorry, Prism. Rather get another synthesizer down. Alright, there goes the Spinoderm. Immobilizer is just really, really brutal against the Spinoderm as well. Oh, but they do have the Unnatural Restoration to play it again. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, but we just kill our opponent in the sky now. We tap down the glider and attack in with everybody. Actually, don't even have to tap it down to find lethal next turn. Alright, move the equipment to the glider. Make it beefier. No taps. Pass turn. Tap the glider. And go for lethal here. And there's the concession. We are now 6-2, I believe. I think we 0-2'd into 6-2 right now. We had one loss from defeat this entire draft pretty much, and now we're one win away from a nice, juicy 7-win run. We'll see how it goes. We are heading into the final boss. Win or lose, tonight's final game of Magic. Very excited for this. Alright, and here we are in the final game of Magic. We've got an Engraver turn 2 with a Slash for removal and a nice Serum Core Chimera late game. To keep this hand and see how it goes for us. Opponent starts off with an island into a Glistener Seer. Drop our Engraver and pass the turn. Probably ready to discard some of these lands to draw some cards. Ichor Synthesizer from our opponent. A bunch of creatures that are too beefy for Hexgold Slash to deal with, unfortunately. Not an excellent matchup for that removal spell. But we've got blockers for days. We can start filtering some of our lands away to draw other cards with Engraver. And once we get a Chimera on the board, it won't be, we won't be that scared of the synthesizers. If it can stick around, it can shoot down the synthesizer with its 3 damage ability. Blue-green from our opponent. Could be proliferating oil counters all over. That's what the archetype is good at. About to lose an Engraver to a combat trick? Nope. They're just going to pass the turn. Discard a card, draw a card, see what we get. Pick up a Gataxian Raptor. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Is it going to be the play right now, since I can play it and hold up Slash? And our opponent hasn't played any removal yet. So I could have like a counterspell for Chimera. 2 counterspells in the format, one at common, one at uncommon. Would be very, very sad if Chimera gets countered. I think I am going to Raptor first. Play it nice and slow here. Alright, no counterspell from our opponent. Scrying with the Glistener Seer. Kind of tested the waters for the Chimera. And this Raptor is scary enough to potentially draw removal. Which could also give my Chimera more chances to survive. There's Spinoderm again. We know that card well. I only have 1 card in the whole deck that proliferates, so I am going to just cash in Engraver right now. Try to dig for some decent outs to Spinoderm. Obviously the Immobilizer is the best one. We can get there, but if our opponent has a lot of proliferate, can't do anything about a big Hexproofer. Alright, so now that they're tapped out, we drop Chimera. To turn Raptor into a 4-1 blocker, I could double block with a 4-1 and a 1-3 that doesn't have any abilities anymore. We get absolutely destroyed by a combat trick, though. I think I'm playing around a combat trick. I want to see if we can get this thing killed. Actually, no, because we're like 2-for-1ing ourselves for a card that's just going to kill itself eventually anyway. But if I just sit here and wait for it to die to its ability, I have to 2-for-1 myself anyway, chump blocking multiple times, or just take like 10 to 15 damage. Alright, yeah, it might be a reasonable double block Engraver and Raptor here. Well, there goes Chimera. Ruthless Predation's gonna kill it here. Still have to double block to kill Spinoderm. They have Mono Blue up though, so there's only one combat trick in Mono Blue. Could have a bounce spell though, that would obviously be pretty terrible. Their Seed Core land can only give them mana for Phyrexian creatures, so they can't cast any non-creatures with that. I mean, they can get colorless out of it, but they can't play a green combat trick right now. Alright, cool. Well, we're definitely a bit behind after removal spell into getting 2-for-1 on a double block. But it is not insurmountable. Let's see what we get off our Prism. Annihilating Glare. Well, if we play something else scary, we've got a good option there. And I'm going to keep this for our draw and discard effects like our Quicksilver Fisher that we still have in the deck. I believe we have 2 of them. Not sure though, because I can't check my deck because this is the early access event. Untapped is not updated with the new cards. Vivisurgeon's Insight, draw 3, proliferate. Now we're very far behind in terms of card advantage. That's a 6-card hand for our opponent. And we're going to have a very bad time keeping up. Surgical Skull Bomb. Yep, bounces one of our cards and draws them a card. So really, really good against our oil counter deck because they just get rid of all of our oil counters even if we do immediately recast. And the synthesizer is now a 3/3 unblockable. Drawn to an Urabrask's Anointer with 1 oiled up card on board. Probably have to just Anointer plus slash the synthesizer here. And then I still have Annihilating Glare for their next card. This is a 1-for-1, this is fine. Trade slash into synthesizer and we just don't get 2-for-1 value from Anointer. Pass the turn. This is Retrofitter, turning the Skull Bomb into a 4/4. That's not good. I can tell you that much. Guess I can trade Anointer into it. If I kill Retrofitter, the Skull Bomb is no longer a creature anymore, but it's still going to be 1-for-1 at some point anyway with the bounce spell ability. I'm really not opposed to trading Anointer into the Skull Bomb. Gets rid of its ability later. So it gets rid of that later 1-for-1. We'll just 1-for-1 right now. I have a 1/3 to block the 2/3 all day long. And then I get to keep Glare for their next big threat. Another Prism, see what we draw. And we are only 1 counter away from trying to race them with our synthesizer. Another Anointer it is. I, again, don't think I can afford to just wait forever, so I'm just going to play a 4/2 that pings them for 1. Obviously not very good, but not horrible, and better than just having it sit in our hand for like 12 turns. Alright, counter it. Got the counterspell out of the way on just a 4/2 for 4, so not that bad. Although I don't think I have much left in my deck that's more impactful than that. Ooh, I'm glad I kept my removal spell. Sacrifice 2 other creatures? Oh, never mind, we just lose. I can Annihilate and Glare this, but they can just pay 4 life to sack their other 2 creatures and keep it anyway. Guess I get to kill their other 2 creatures. But, yeah, bomb-heavy format is bomb-heavy. Whoa, okay, they don't pay the 4 life. We actually just kill it. Take 2 a turn, we deal 3 a turn. Yeah, they could have paid 4 life to save it with that Phyrexia mana ability. Okay. I guess we have a shot now. Am I hitting them here? I die in 7 swings, they die in 7 swings. I guess I very, very slightly win this race. Because I die in 7 hits now, they die to 6 hits now. See, now I also die to 6 hits, but I'm attacking first in this race. So, very, very slightly winning the race. Immobilizer completely changes that, and we are firmly losing. Can't blow up equipments, or can't blow up artifacts with Immobilizer, just equipment. So all I can do with this is kill the Retrofitter, which I guess I have to do to not sit here taking 2 every turn they immobilize. So shoot the Retrofitter. Now they just immobilize us every turn. Until they draw into something, and as soon as they hit any Proliferate, they're going to start scrying with Seer again. Or they're just going to do it right now. Alright. Again, if you have like a ton of Proliferate in your deck, probably best to leave 1 oil counter on stuff, but I'm going to assume our opponent knows just like we know. They probably only have 1 or 2 Proliferate cards in their deck, like we just have 1. Oil Gorger Troll. That is incredible. Great, great, great green common. Again, a lot of these oil counter cards have just been some of the best cards in each color, and the Oil Gorger Troll just being a 5-mana 3/4 that gains 3 life and draws a card. If you have an oil counter, it's really not that hard to do that. And it's a ridiculously good deal if you do have the oil to go with it. We're getting 2 for 1 pretty hard here in the top deck war. And I'm not feeling confident about our chances here, but I'm going to stick in it and see where it goes. You never know. I thought we were instantly dead to Zopandrel, but then they decided to... I guess they just missed the Phyrexian ability on it. Except they'd realize that they would still just have basically an 8/12 on the board. So we're surviving much longer than I thought we would at the very least. So who knows? Maybe we do turn this into a victory somehow. Mesmerizing Dothe on Synthesizer. That proliferates onto Immobilizer. And a poison counter on us, so we're corrupted. If they have anything that cares about that. Now we drop a Glistener Seer. Still have basically 0 blocks for the Oil Gorger Troll, which is rough. I don't have any good attacks. I attack with both. They block the 2/3 with the 0/3 and the 1/1 with the 1/2. Probably have to get into the chump zone here and hope eventually Charforger draws us an extra card because we've just chumped so much. We are corrupted, so the Seed Core can... Oh god. Seed Core can give their 1/1s +1/+2 if they have any, but also just hit a 4/4 haste. And we're dying really, really fast now. I think I do want to be able to chump block and scry with this. So I'm actually not going to use it in my upkeep. Unfortunate. That does end us. Now they just immobilize both creatures. So I guess I should have scried in my upkeep, but I don't think it would have mattered, since they can just immobilize both creatures anyway. I guess I get to scry when they go for the immobilization here, regardless. Yep. Immobilize that, then they immobilize here, and I guess we see what we would have drawn if I scried this mountain to the bottom. Oh, they don't go for lethal here. They play around an instant. Maybe they have their combat trick here and we're dead, and we're just dead anyway. But we might have yet again grabbed another turn out of the jaws of defeat. Yeah, I would have still been dead on board. I would have just drawn Prism. Well, I guess I would have drawn whatever's below Prism. So I guess we do see one more card here, and this card that we draw, we would have had it last turn instead. We'll see if that mattered. I kind of doubt it. How lopsided the board state has become here. Yeah, opponent just finding a lot more gas in the end here. Yeah, Immobilizer wouldn't get there. A lot of good 2-for-1s and value plays from our opponent. Tons of scry. A creature plus draw a card to play yet another threat. And of course the Immobilizer going for such a good amount of time from our opponent. We had to 2-for-1 ourselves into their first scary rare, and then had to use our removal spell in the second one. Don't have enough stuff left over in the end here to survive the final turns here. We'll drop our Immobilizer and allow our opponent to finish us off. But that is going to be 6-3 in a draft that started off 0-2. Incredible win streak, and I'm very, very impressed by this deck. Even in the losses, some very, very good decks are beating us. So I think that overall our deck is still quite a bit above average and has a lot of legs to it. So very happy with this deck. Decently happy with how I played. And I think 6-3, perfectly reasonable run for this deck. Probably around average, so pretty happy that I made that recovery in the early game, because I really don't think that this deck is an 0-3 deck. Like if I played those first 2 rounds and then I played against this deck game 3 and just immediately 0-3 with this deck, I would have been super, super, super sad. That would have just been one of those high variance runs where sometimes you pair into the losses first. Luckily here, we hit a couple at the start, but we hit our wins in a nice chunk in the middle to still pull out a 6-win run with this deck. And I think this is a deck that kind of deserves it. I think the oil counter non-creature spell synergies are just a pretty powerful, very fun archetype, and we got a lot of really good stuff to go with them with the double anointer and stuff like that. Quadruple Prism was a little weird. You know, we did have some games where we just hit a lot of prisms and 0 action. I don't think there was anything incredible we could have sided in. Maybe like -1 Prism plus 1 Fisher would be the best way to go. That would be the best build of this deck. But overall, really happy with the draft, really happy with the deck in the end. Actually, Vivisurgeon's Insight played really well. Played really well from our opponents. We've only seen like 1 copy cast, but did put our opponent pretty far ahead in card advantage in one of these games, so it was a pretty good card. Maybe swap that out for one of the prisms, try that thing out, could be decent. But overall, pretty great build. And we picked up some really, really powerful, really fun stuff during the draft for another very solid 6-3 run today. Well, that is going to end today's video. If you want to see some more videos like this, some more Phyrexia All Will Be One Limited, stick around on the channel. There will be plenty more in the near future. We've got early access drafts and sealed leading up to the launch of Phyrexia All Will Be One, where I'll just be playing a bunch more just regular premiere drafts on my personal account. So once again, thank you very much to Wizards of the Coast for providing me with the early access account that you saw me playing with today. And if you'd like to hang out live, you can check out my Twitch channel, link in the description below. If you want to support the channel directly like these lovely patrons you see on screen, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, just thanks for watching in the first place, and I'll see you soon for some more Magic Arena.